Hey guys, today we are talking about operations with integers. So we will be able to add positive and negative integers when the sign is the same and add positive and negative integers when the sign is different. You might remember some of this last year from 6th grade, but in order to be successful in algebra this year, we really want to remember these skills. So we're going to spend all week practicing. We're going to add and subtract, multiply and divide, go over the orders of operation, and then simplifying algebraic expressions. So to begin, and again, your note days are always kind of the same. You may just listen to me as I go through this presentation. You may print out the note sheet that I have attached to the Google Classroom assignment, or you may just take notes on a separate sheet of line paper, whatever you think works best for you. So to begin, we have our rules for adding integers. So if our sign is the same, you want to add your numbers normally and then keep the sign. So if you're adding two positive numbers, the number is going to be positive. If you're adding two negative numbers, the answer is going to be negative. If your sign is different, you want to subtract and keep the larger sign. So if you're subtracting two numbers and the negative number is bigger, so 3 plus negative 7, you would just subtract them the same. 7 minus 3 is 4. But since the 7 was bigger than the 3, and that's the one that was negative, you would keep that sign. So going over a few examples, I have 15 plus negative 12. So my rule says that if my sign is different, I'm going to subtract them and keep the larger sign. So 15 is bigger than 12. So I'm going to subtract them normally. 15 minus 12 is 3. And then since 15 was the bigger value, my answer is going to be positive. Over here, negative 7 plus negative 7. So I'm adding them normally because my sign is the same. So I'm just going to add them normally and keep the sign. So I'm just going to think in my head, well, what is 7 plus 7? 7 plus 7 is 14. But since they were both negative, my answer is going to be negative. If I have more than one number, I'm just going to move left to right, taking two numbers at a time. So I have negative 10 plus negative 3 plus 20. So all I'm going to do at first is a negative 10 plus negative 3. My sign is the same, so I'm going to add them normally, keep the sign. 10 plus 3 is 13. Since they were both negative, I'm going to keep that negative number. And now I'm going to bring down my 20 because I didn't use that yet. So now I have negative 13 plus 20. The signs are different, so I'm going to subtract them and keep the larger sign. So 20 minus 13 is 7. And then 20 is a bigger value, so my answer is going to be positive. If this number was negative, I would keep the negative sign on my answer, but it always is based off of which value is larger. For the last one, again, move left to right. So I'm going to take care of my first two problems, negative 5 plus negative 5. They're the same sign. My rule tells me to just add them normally, keep whatever sign they are. 5 plus 5 is 10. Since they're both negative, I'm going to keep that negative number. So it's going to be negative 10. And then I'm going to bring down my negative 15 because I did not use that yet. I don't know why my pen sometimes just assumes I'm circling things. Okay. So now I have negative 10 plus negative 15. Again, their sign is the same, so I'm going to add them normally and keep the sign. 10 plus 15 is 25. Keep the negative sign because the answers are negative. So that's your rules for adding integers. Add them normally and keep the sign. Subtract them and keep the larger sign. Moving on, our rules for subtracting integers tell us that we can take any subtraction problem and turn it into an addition problem. So as long as I'm solid and I remember these rules, where if I'm adding the same sign, I just add them and keep it. If they're different signs, subtract them and keep the larger one. As long as I have a handle on those rules, subtracting is going to be very easy. So we're going to remember these two rules on top of our little saying to help us get through subtracting integers, which is same, change, change. So we're going to take any subtraction problem and change it into an addition problem so we can use those easy rules we just did. Same means your first number is going to stay the same. Change your subtraction sign to a plus sign, and then change the sign of your second number. So if I can remember that whenever I have a subtraction problem, I'm going to do same, change, change, and then use those rules from above, I can answer any subtraction problem. Looking at these two examples, I have 15 minus negative 12. So same, change, change means keep my first number the same, change my subtraction sign to a plus sign, and then change the sign of my second number. So if it's negative 12, I'm going to change it to positive 12. So now I'm just adding two numbers. Don't get too hung up on thinking about those rules. Right now it's just asking us, well, what's 15 plus 12? That's going to give me 27. So same change allows us to take this complicated looking math problem and make it something very easy. Same change over here, -7 minus -7. First number stays the same. Change to a plus sign. Change the sign of your second number. So now I'm doing -7 plus 7. -7 plus 7, my signs are different. So my rule tells me to subtract. 7 minus 7 is 0. And then technically I'm supposed to keep the sign of that larger number, but 7 and 7 are the same. So 0 never has a sign to it. So anytime you're adding opposites like this, a positive and negative of the same value, you're always going to get 0. Over here, move right to left, take care of two numbers at a time. So all I'm going to look at is this -10 minus -3. So same, change. I'm going to do -10 plus 3. My rule tells me that when my signs are different, negative and a positive, subtract them. 10 minus 3 is 7. And then since 10 is a larger value than 3, my answer is going to be -7. And then I'm going to go ahead and bring down that -20 because I didn't use that yet. And I'm going to use same change again. So keep this number the same, change to a plus sign, change the sign of my second number. So now I'm adding two numbers that have the same sign. So I'm going to add them. 7 plus 20 is 27. And then I'm going to keep the sign, so it's going to be -27. And finally, to finish it out, take care of two at a time. So same, change. There I have my opposites again. Opposites are when you have the same value, one positive, one negative. I know that that's always going to be 0. So now I'm going to bring down my minus and everything else I didn't use yet. You want to be careful whenever we're doing problems like this, whatever you don't use, we're bringing it all down. So I have this minus sign and I also have this negative sign. I want to bring both of them down. So now same change again. So I have 0 plus 15. 0 plus 15, that's very simple. My final answer is going to be 15. Okay, so there you have it. Those are your rules for adding and subtracting positive and negative numbers. Now you can take time to start working on your homework. You have a couple problems adding, a couple problems subtracting. If you have any questions, please feel free to email me. The study hall room is going to be open tomorrow at 7:30 for you to join if you need some help with any of them. See you later, guys.